Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I just had my interview with Tulsa Remote. I want to, while it's fresh in my mind, let you guys know what happened. I think that I have some information that might be useful to people who are going through the process or thinking about going through the process, because I got some answers to questions that I personally was not able to find online. So I'm gonna go ahead and share that. It took like exactly half an hour. And the interview process, I see a lot of people online, especially in Reddit, they're asking for like specifics, what to expect during the interview, what questions are they going to ask you. They literally reiterating what you put on your application. So as long as you remember what you wrote in your application and you were forthright with that, you shouldn't have any issues, right? They're going to ask you to verify your income, speak about your personal life, sort of what your interests are, if you volunteer, if you're involved in your community, things like that. And they also ask you about, of course, it's a program for remote workers. So they ask you about your work experience, right? What your position is at your job, how much money you do make there, and things like that. When I shared my income, I did ask if my income was within their guidelines, and he told me not to worry about that. So I have been looking at doing a remote work opportunity in different states. Every single state that I looked at, and I looked at a lot of times for comparison purposes, right? Like not necessarily looking at them because I wanted to move to like the Shoals, Alabama. Require 85,000 and above is like the minimum income requirement for those programs in every other state, except for Tulsa Remote. So, I did ask about that. When you look at their website and you look at the qualifications, it's very vague, right? They just basically say you have to have a remote job that fits these criteria, right? But there's nothing about your actual income. Same with my interviewer. His name was Wilson. Hey Wilson, shout out to Wilson. He was awesome. He made me very comfortable. It's a very like relaxed, easygoing conversation with them. Like you have to be able to speak to why you want to move to Tulsa, right? And not just for $10,000. You have to be able to speak to what you will bring to Tulsa. A lot of times I get the impression from posts that I've seen on social media and on Reddit, when people say they're not accepted, I'm not even accepted yet at this point, right? But I have a good feeling about it. But people who aren't accepted, they say, well, I told them I don't really volunteer. I don't think it's necessarily so much volunteering as like, are you involved in the community? Are you an outgoing person? Do you have a personality? Like you really need to show, right? That's what you're conveying here. It's not an intense, strict interview. It's not like interviewing for a job or anything like that. But you do need to put your best foot forward. That I took into it, but also not being like overzealous with that energy either, you know what I mean? I am a transplant from the East Coast to Houston, and so we talked about what motivated that move, and I think they're looking for, of course, people who are, again, outgoing, but sort of adventurous. And also we got into a little bit of like a sidebar about interviewees or applicants that they get, right? And he said, there's like these two extremes where we have people who are like, hey, I got my U-Haul packed and I'm outside right now. Like, I just need your, like, I'm trying to cross the state line and get $10,000, right? And then the other extreme is people who are like, oh, well, if I get accepted into this program, I'll just think about it for a year and maybe like even try to contact you guys later and get an extension, like push it out to a year and a half. So it's like the completely undecided people. And then the people who are like, it's frightening because it's like, where are you guys like on the run from something, right? Because they're just ready to go, but then it's also like, this is going wrong, this is bad, this is negative. And again, that's not what Tulsa Remote is for, right? They're looking just for like stable people who are going to bring positivity to Tulsa, was the impression that I got. And that was not explicitly stated, but if you read between the lines of the questions and sort of some of the statements that are made, that was the impression that I got. I was working or have been working with a realtor in Houston, and there's so many, Texas-based, Houston-based, even the individual counties like have all of these programs and grants and first-time homebuyer resources. And so I asked about that. Because I had already sort of searched online and done research myself about Oklahoma, and I just wasn't finding anything. And Wilson kind of confirmed that. He said that he's really not aware of like first time home buyer grants in Tulsa or in Oklahoma. So that is something to consider for me, you know, if I am accepted. Okay, yes, there's this great benefit of the $10,000, which if you move to Tulsa and buy $1,000 as a lump sum, however, I might be leaving money on the table, right, where I could have gotten more in terms of like down payment assistance and things like that buying in another state. But I have to balance that with, okay, if I do stay here in Texas, you know, between property taxes and HOAs, it's limiting my buying power. That impacts my mortgage. You know, there's a lot to think about, and I won't bore you guys with that. Maybe that's another video for another day. But Wilson did let me know that they have a in-house realty consultant. Her name is Alicia. I guess I probably should not give, all of her information. I don't want people who are like very smart about finding people online, and I don't want her to like get bombarded. I also asked about renting and like how much support they provide. So Tulsa Remote representative is assigned to you to sort of help you through all of everything that you can think of, right? From finding housing, medical care, anything you can think of, right? There's just like this intense support system. And he also explained to me a little bit about the timeline. It took a little less than a month. I did my application, and then in a little less, wasn't quite a month, I believe, now to my interview. And he said within a week or two, if I am selected to go to the next stage, is when I will get my request to do the background check and employment verification. All of that, he said, is done through a vendor. No one at Tulsa Remote sees your personal information. They just want to verify and make sure like the information that you gave matches up, and you have to submit your pay stubs to support the income that you reported on your application and during your interview. And once the background check is submitted, going back to the timeline, so he said it could be up to 2 weeks before, as long as everything is good, right, with the background check and the employment verification. That process could take up to 2 weeks, maybe less, but he's pretty much like 2 weeks would be the expectation, right, for that, up to 2 weeks. And then you get an email that says time to move to Tulsa. That is when you are fully accepted into the program. So if I decide to move to Tulsa, because my time frame is very short, right now it's April 24th. My current lease ends on July 15th. And so given this time of about a month, right, to be fully accepted into the program, I would want to go on a visit. You know, let's say I did the June visit, and then that gives me like a month and a half. And you're not allowed, if you're looking to buy a house or to rent, like, do not start anything. He did let me know that you will be disqualified, right? You can't sign any lease, you can't be working with a realtor, you can't have a mortgage, you can't be at closing, and then just trying to get the $10,000 at that point, right? And then at that point, if I rented, you always got to make a cameo, boy. What's up, man? An initial lump sum payment of $3,000, and then $500 per month. $500 per month until the end of your 1 year if you go with renting. Something very interesting that I did not know, because I've been in this headspace of I'm buying a house this year. I don't want to hear anything else, right? That is my plan, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm thinking like, well, I would have to wait to move to Tulsa, buy the house, you know, go through that whole process, find a realtor, look at homes, find the house, go, blah, 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 blah. You can actually split the stipend or split the payment. And this is what I mean. So he gave the example of, let's say I'm accepted to the program and I move to Tulsa on July 15th of this year. And maybe I move into an apartment and I do a 6-month lease. So I would get that initial, right, $3,000 upfront payment, and I would receive $500 per month for the following 5 months. Then when I complete my closing and I'm a homeowner in Tulsa, then I could get the lump sum payment still for the remainder. So they will consider, like, if you move there as a renter but you become a homeowner, you can still get the lump sum, or the difference of the lump sum payment. And I even, as I was like chewing on everything, making it make sense, the wheels are turning in my head. I was like, well, maybe I could do like a 3-month lease, because that could give me enough time. And then maybe I'd have like maybe 7,000, 5 to 7,000 remaining as the lump sum. And I guess, either way you slice it, whether you get it in installments or the lump sum, is what it is, right? It's the same money. I think just having the lump sum, I know will help me if I end up doing, like, let's say I need to do a little bit of renovations or improvements at the house, or just buying furniture. It will help me a lot with like doing a lot of things and not tapping into savings, right? Or credit. So I was under the impression that they probably do like a quarterly hosted visit, but no, the hosted visits are the first week of each month, and they last from Wednesday to Friday. The one coming in July, Wilson said he does believe that it will be the week after the 4th, right? So it's not going to be the 4th of July weekend that they're hosting a visit, but they will pay for or reimburse for $500 for yourself and a guest. And you can also stay at their hotel, and they usually have, he said, like 50 to 70 people come out each month for the hosted visit, which at that point I was like, 50 to 70, how many people are actually in Tulsa Remote, or how many people are you expecting this year? And I believe he said, I did not write that down, I think he said 3,500 to 4,000, or no, I think he said 400 to 500, which will bring the program to 3,500 or 4,000 members since inception, since it started, I think. Don't quote me on that, y'all, because I list of questions to ask about doing a self-guided tour and wanting to know like what resources are available if you go that self-guided route, right? If there's any guidance on like where to go, where discounts on a hotel or something like that. But now that I know they do a visit the first week of every month, it's like, why would I come by myself? Like, I can do the hosted visit. Now, a part of me though, in the back of my mind, I know that the hosted visit is going to be very curated, of course, right? And they're going to show you all the positive and the good things. And a part of me wants to see, I wouldn't say so much negative, but let's say like the reality of Tulsa, right? I want to see a little bit of that. So that might be the only reason that I would want to do a solo visit, because I'm working today. Oh my God, I keep turning yellow. Shout out to Teams. Who uses Teams at work? My boss isn't paying attention. Unless you are. I love you. I'm working hard at work. Yeah, so hosted visits the first week of every month. I asked him, just as like a silly question, I happened to, this past weekend, like on Saturday, I was at a get together, a party or whatever, and there was a guy there, and we were talking, like it was a group and everyone's making small talk or whatever, and he somehow mentioned that he used to work in Tulsa. I don't know how it came about, but either way, I was like, I'm considering moving to Tulsa. And he's like, don't, Oklahoma City is way better, blah, blah, blah. And then, like I said, it was like a group conversation. So it was kind of we each got pulled off into like separate conversations and interruptions. And he never fully gave me his explanation of why he preferred Oklahoma City to Tulsa. I think he started saying like it was boring, but it's highly subjective, right? Plus he had been there for work, right? He didn't actually like live there. So I asked Wilson, my Tulsa Remote interviewer, what did he think? Like, what was his preference? And he's like, well, I'm born and raised in Tulsa, I'm biased. But I will say he gave me some very honest pros and cons and a comparison of the two cities. And I thought that was awesome, right? They're like, not trying to bamboozle you into anything. And he got into the politics a little bit too. In short, said, Tulsa is a purple city in a red state. That Tulsa proper, within the Tulsa limits, it's most liberal, or about as liberal as you can get. Where Oklahoma City is like a cowboy city, right? But speaking just specifically of Tulsa, within Tulsa limits is as liberal as it gets probably in Oklahoma, but that's still not very liberal. And I'm an East Coast girl, right? Spent a lot of time in Philly. Wilson himself had experience or used to live in Philly too, so we were able to kind of make that comparison and sort of pull it all together. As far as politics, is that a concern for me? Somewhat, slightly. Final question that I asked Wilson was about the wellness resources, right? So it has listed on the Tulsa Remote website that they have these perks, Pass. So he explained to me that it's a $200, I believe it's $200 per month. I can't even read my own writing, but it's a health and wellness benefit. He's saying you get a little card and you can use it to buy different things. It's supposed to be specifically used or limited to specific health purchases. Some people, Tulsa Remoters, apparently abused the system and were buying things that they weren't supposed to buy, like, I don't know, clothes or something, right? Vacation, I don't know what they did, but so they've like restricted heavily what you can use it, but it's intended to be used for like a gym membership or you know, even you could use it for like spa treatments, things like that. It's not meant to be used for shoes. He said some people use it for like meal services, like Factor and stuff like that. And I think that is permitted. It's just, you know, when people are doing crazy things, like it's not to pay your electric bill or get your nails done or whatever. And he also mentioned that it is taxed based on how much you use. Yeah. I hope that I really hope that I help you guys with some tips and gems and information that you may not have known, because I know I definitely got some questions answered today. I will of course keep you guys posted. Say a little prayer for me, y'all. I would love to move to Tulsa. It just seems like an amazing community that they have within Tulsa Remote. It's an amazing opportunity. The money is a great incentive, I can't lie, right? Even though you do pay taxes on the $10,000, and moving from Texas to Oklahoma, I would start paying income taxes again. There's no income tax in Texas. There's just a lot of things to consider, but I'll keep you guys posted and I'll let you know how it goes for me. Hopefully this video is not too long, and if it is, I hope you watched the whole thing. Feel free to comment, ask me any other questions. I have some other notes here, things that I didn't touch on, but we can talk about that if anyone's interested. I just really went over kind of like my main questions that I asked Wilson. All right, you guys, I hope this helps. I'll let you know if I get accepted. Peace.